I read Sally Rooney's book, Intermezzo, in about 24 hours. So it's an interesting book compared to Sally Rooney's previous books because it's from the male character's perspective, unlike her previous books where it's more female-based narration throughout the book. So this is what really makes it. So the book follows two brothers, Peter, 32, who's a lawyer, and his brother Ivan, who's 22 and a chess player. And they've both been struggling in the passing of their father from cancer. So it really shows them right after their father passed away, what they both go through and how that affects their relationship. Throughout the book, Peter is struggling with the use of drugs and his relationships, whereas Ivan is struggling with progressing in the chess rankings. But throughout the beginning of the book, he wins a comeback event where he meets Margaret, who is the 36-year-old venue manager at that event. And then it also follows Ivan's struggle with his relationships as well. And it's really interesting to see how she narrates two different characters, and you can really see their personality. How Ivan is more introverted, he has a lot of anxieties, he's more awkward, whereas Peter, he's his brother, he's more confident, he's a lawyer, he's okay talking to people, he's very sociable, but he's still struggling with himself, and it shows their internal struggles. So I would say this novel is definitely Rooney's most mature work. Compared to her previous ones. There are three main romantic relationships in the novel between Peter and Naomi, who's a college student. So there's a big age gap between Peter, who's 32, and then Naomi. And then between Peter and his former girlfriend Sylvia, who he had to break up with. She broke up with him because of an accident that happened. And so it shows the struggle between them. And it also shows Ivan and Margaret's growing relationship from the beginning of the book to the end. I love Sally Rooney's writing style with how she narrates the characters' inner monologue and their small interactions with other characters in the novel, whether it be romantic or not. She captures everyday moments and interactions so beautifully. The way she writes, it makes you really feel what the characters are going through and relate it to your own life even, and the feelings that you have felt. Ivan is only 22 while he's entertaining his relationship with Margaret, who's 36. So there is quite an age gap between the two. Ivan is still very young and naive, and he's never been in a relationship before. And he's never felt comfortable to open up to others. So this makes you wonder if Margaret is taking advantage of him as someone who is much older, and he's someone who has never even been in a relationship. And it's really interesting to see how that unfolds throughout the book. And Ivan's character, he has a lot of anxieties related to this, and what other people might think of him, what his brother might think of him. When his brother eventually finds out, there's a big fight between the two. And then it also shows Margaret and how she is so anxious about what other people think of her, whether if her family or her friends are going to find out about the fact that she's in a relationship with someone who's much younger than her, when she was just recently divorced from someone who was, as Ivan later finds out, was an alcoholic, and that's why they divorced. So the themes that she explores in this novel are a lot heavier than her ones in her other novels. The main big theme that she covers is about grief and romance, miscommunication. Most of Sally Rooney's books, they're all about miscommunication between characters, and it leads to like big blow-ups, fights between the characters, as seen throughout her previous novels. That's a major theme, and it's good to relate to your own life, and that's how people in real life, there's always miscommunication going on. So her books do feel very realistic, the way that the characters interact. The book really is about healing relationships and finding strength through grief and changing, and how the characters grow throughout the book, and how from the beginning they're so maybe need a lot of healing to do, and then by the end of the book they are starting to heal and they're starting to grow, and they start to accept things, and their characters really like mature and evolve throughout the book, which is very interesting to see. The themes of most of her novels are about how characters can change one another, and that's very evident in this book, as all of the characters, like Peter, Ivan, Naomi, Sylvia, and Margaret, they all interact with each other throughout the book, and it's very interesting to see how she navigates that with all, there's 5 characters in the book, and how they all interact. The main narration throughout the novel, we see the perspective of Peter, Ivan, and Margaret, whereas with Naomi and Sylvia, it's more of a second person narration. So this novel is similar to her other works, but it goes more in depth in the characters, such as in the beginning, Peter is worried about how other people view him, but by the end he ends up not caring and accepting that this life is his to live. And Margaret has a very similar journey, where at the beginning of the novel she's worried what people might think of her for dating a much younger man, but by the end she no longer lets it affect her as much, and she begins to accept it. Overall, I really enjoyed the novel. I thought it was similar to her other works, but it was a little bit, I enjoyed it a little more. It went more into heavier themes a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. So if you guys like this video, comment down below what you thought of the book. Let me know if you read it, if you liked it, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, and subscribe.